Welcome, everybody. My name is Nathan Crowell, and today we are not joined by Chase Parker, who normally is joining me here on the podcast. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it, but today we are joined by a really good friend of mine. This is Steven Warr. Steven, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Nathan. I appreciate it, man.
Oh, I really, really appreciate being able to sit down with you and actually do this. This is something like we've talked about for quite some time, and like doing something like this, like it's gonna be fun. Like we already just like rant about shit all the time. So yeah, no, this is gonna be really fun.
I
But
think this has been 13 years in the making.
honestly, probably. Yeah.
Honestly,
So
because we were talking about this in college, and that was, oh my God, 13 years ago now.
yeah, been a minute. It's been a hot minute. So to kind of like back up actually, and explain to the audience. So I've known Steven for a very long time, and we met our first year of college, and I don't want to get too much into our backstory yet, because we actually do have something we got to do first before we get too far into it. So on the podcast, Steven, you know this. Every time someone new comes on, we want them to bring a clip, something that like means something to them, and we just want to sit down, talk about that clip, and just go over it. So let's go ahead and get that out of the way. Do that.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I already feel like my brain's like everywhere. I'm like, oh my God, we're gonna talk about so much stuff. I apologize to anyone right now. We're both very ADHD and we'll rant and vent about stuff. So so this podcast might be all over the place. So I do apologize. I'm gonna do the best I can to keep it on track.
You know.
It's gonna be great, man. So let's get into your clip. Steven, what clip did you bring for us today?
So, one of my favorite movies of all time is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade for very, very, very many reasons. But one of my favorite clips is near the end when they are in Petra and they finally have the Holy Grail. And it's the scene where there is a conversation between Indy and his father. And for me, it's very emotional. For me, it's the heart and soul of the film. And I can go into it after we watch it, but I really love this clip. For some reason, I've always been obsessed with like father-son relationships in cinema.
Mhm.
And I feel like this is a perfect example of like mending, like healing,
Yeah.
finally getting to a level place, you know. But that's why I chose this one. I feel like it really is the heart and soul of the film.
Oh, I love that actually. I really love that, especially for what we're gonna end up talking about later in the podcast, is the short film that really kind of started all of this right now with FTA and everything. Like we'll get more into that later, but that's actually that's a very beautiful connection, actually seeing that, and we'll go into it more. But let's go ahead and watch this clip right now. It's like a minute long, and for our audio listeners, we will do a much better job at actually kind of like talking about the scene while the scene's being played, because we do know you're just listening to a clip. So I do apologize in past episodes when we've done this. We were really bad at it. So yeah, we'll do a better job. All right, Steven, help me out.
All right, let's do it.
All right,
because I will help explain.
All right. So this is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. There we go.
Oh yeah, that was definitely one of my childhood crushes. My wife and us. This scene always makes my palms sweat.
Yeah.
Like it's so well filmed. You feel the tension. And I love the fact that when they shot this, you can see the green in her eyes when she's looking at the gun.
Oh yeah.
100%.
Oh God. This is just taking me back to my
is like
Oh, I mean legendary. Come on.
Almost reach it, Dad.
And right here, they actually, oh, there it is. There it is. That realization in his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
The
And the
calmness,
music.
the
Oh my God.
calmness,
The
though.
actual sound design for that scene is incredible.
Yeah.
Oh my
Um,
God. Oh my God. I have chills yet again. Every time I watch this scene, oh my God, I get chills and I just love it. But I love the fact that they duplicated the scene where you really see the absolute greed coming out of Elsa
mhm,
when she's reaching for that cup. Like she has a complete abandon. The only thing that she cares about is this one thing.
mhm.
And once she falls down, you see that glimmer, that same shot, and you can kind of see Indy falling into quite literally the pit of greed. Like there's so much symbolism in this scene as well. And that one in like Indiana, like his dad finally listened to him. And like he realizes it for the first time in the entire film. He was listening when I spoke. He was hearing me out. Like he was doing that fatherly duty of listening and understanding me. And he was just a hard shell type of person. But when it came to his life and his safety, he like put everything aside. He put that like rough exterior aside and showed that kindness and compassion and finally called him the name that he wanted to be called. And that realization when he turns and Indiana makes eye contact with his father. I want to say, probably for the first time in the movie, you can feel like you can feel that connection and that love, man.
Mhm.
And with the sound design, you really have an emotional connection with the audience there because like the whole film has been building to that one point. That's why I call it the heart and soul of the movie. It literally was the heart and soul of the movie. They built that relationship even in the very beginning when we didn't see the father and he's writing down all of his research when Indy runs in and he's in trouble and he's kind of ignoring his son. Finally, through the entire film, the ignoring, pushing aside, not taking seriously, and then finally, at the most important point in Indy's life, he's about to the one thing he's been searching for his entire life. And one thing that not only he's been searching for, his father's been searching for.
No, I completely agree with you on that scene. The sound design helped so much. What I really loved about it in that moment, um, when Sean Connery is just the way he delivers that line of like, you know, Indiana, let it go. Like it's so calm. It just works so well, that delivery. And even like the camera becomes really still. Stuff just kind of stops for a moment. And
Yeah.
it's like that it's like it's almost like everything went slow-mo, but it actually didn't. It's just everything kind of went calm for a moment. The music brought it in, and then of course, yeah.
That's one thing I loved about that scene is not only is it like Indiana's it's weird. I know he's a grown man, but they play it almost to the point because Steven Spielberg is a genius. And he even uses this as like a becoming of age story in that moment. I know he's a grown man, but like he finally reaches that point in his life where he's able to have that fatherly figure for the first time.
Yeah.
Like really connect with that fatherly figure for the first time. So that going back to what you said, like everything slowing down and that moment almost stopping, that like moment in time, that pause on all the environment, all the chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a symbolism for like important moments in our lives as well.
Yeah.
Like you don't remember what was going on whenever something important happens. You just remember the important part.
Mm-hmm.
And just that moment where the gentility finally comes out of his father's mouth. And he's able to the second hand reaching up is almost another symbol of him like reconnecting. Like they finally had that connection again. And then riding off into the sunset is just, I don't know what happened. Just there's fire going around my head.
Yeah, okay. So for our people that have actually watched the videos, me and Chase have had this happen in the past before. We don't know what is going on, but random things like that will randomly happen. That was a new one. I've never seen the fireworks one before, but literally last time we did this, Chase randomly was getting a thought bubble popping up with like a like thumbs up, and it was just like, what's happening? So
Cool.
We record these on like via Discord. So yeah, I don't know what's happening. I don't. It just randomly happens. We don't. So
my poor more excited, you know.
Yeah.
Slow.
Yeah. So let's do a little backtracking. So the reason I'm sitting down with Steven today is because he has made a short film that he put a lot of hard work into, and it's been really great. I've been editing this short film for a while now, piecing it all together. And yeah, it's been such a wonderful process. And yeah, I just kind of really wanted to sit down with him, talk about him and the production of his short film. But also, I do feel like we need to give a little bit of backstory of like our history, because Steven is one of my best friends of like all time. Like I've known him for so long. I mean, I was the best man at his wedding, so yeah, we're best friends. But yeah,
and did save my life on the bachelor party too, so we can at least bring that in. I was absolutely corked. I was sloshed and wanted to watch all the Star Wars back to back, apparently completely hammered, and I made it not even through the scrolling credits at the beginning.
No,
and that's all I remember. And then somehow I ended up in bed. I don't know if you dragged me or carried me, but anyway, this is the kind of guy that he is. So very good man, wonderful friend, and hardworking. He's put in so much work on the post for this short film, man. And for a 40-minute short film, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, it was a process, but no, it's been so much fun doing this. And bro, you're being too nice. You're being way too nice. But
no, I'm not being nice enough.
Oh, whatever. All right. But no, I want to get into the short film that you did and talk about that. But let's go into a little bit of our past and our history of where we come from. So first off, I know exactly where to begin. We're gonna begin where we met. We met first year of college, and
yeah, we did.
I will never forget. Like, I knew immediately when Steven introduced himself that like we were gonna be friends. I just knew from the get-go. I just really did. I don't know why. I remember sitting in class. It was our first like film class, like day one, man. Like
first day of our first film class.
Yeah, and we were both like, freshmen as our first year, and
pretty ambitious people we were. I will say that for sure.
we were just babies. We were babies, honestly. But no, I remember sitting in the class, and they're having each one of us like stand up and like introduce ourselves, what our major is, and then like a reason why you want to be in film, or something like that. And Steven stands up, and no joke, he says, "Hello everyone, my name is Steven Warr, and I want to make Christopher Nolan movies look like children films." And I don't even know what that means, but just from that like first comment, I was just like, we're gonna be friends. We're gonna be friends.
You're like, either this guy's insane or
I don't even know what that means. I want to make Christopher Nolan films look like kids films. I was like, what does that even mean? But it was just so funny to me.
I love Nolan.
Given like at that time, what Inception was Yeah, the latest release
Yeah.
masterpiece. So yeah, fair. Um, but
You know,
nah,
I mean, we were very ambitious there as well. I mean,
yeah.
I remember whenever I first met you and actually went to your dorm room for the first time. And first of all, I had never gone into a dorm room that had an espresso machine in it. So I was very happy about that. And you had this like super like fancy bourbon barrel blueberry aged coffee, which I'm still trying to find to this day because that shot was amazing. I still remember
Oh,
that.
I actually remember that coffee. That was from literally some coffee shop in like Washington. It probably not.
I
I don't
know.
even
I'm
know it.
still looking for it.
Yeah, I've
I
always loved
literally
coffee,
still
so
looking at it. But no, I thought to myself, like, we were so similar, but you had such a different take on cinema than I did. And like initially I was full on film student. Like, like for your listeners who don't quite know, there's like a hierarchy system in film. It's like a mental hierarchy system. And like you've got the guys who've been making films for a while that they just want to make films. Like they love cinema. They don't care what the genre is. They just want to get in there and get their hands dirty and make the film and learn more about the technicality of filmmaking and things like that. Then you have like the people who are like on their 16th smoke break at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon who are like, man, this is just a job to me. Can I hurry up and go home? Like they're get like the grunt force, I guess you could say. I mean, you couldn't make a movie without them.
sure.
Then you have your PAs who are usually either film students or they're just breaking in from high school. And they have this perception that it takes some type of divine intervention to create a masterpiece. And if your film is less than a masterpiece, then you should probably quit while you're behind. And that's good. That's kind of where I was at the time. I was in that film student mindset, and I was just like, man, like Christopher Nolan, he's so like he's so pretentious about this and this. He should be more pretentious about, this and this and that. And at the time, I had no idea what I was talking about. I hadn't even been on a set before. I was just rambling. I was just absolutely rambling nonsense. I was like eating up what Tarantino was saying in interviews and just regurgitating. That's all I was doing.
Yeah.
So like whenever we met, like that was just so your listeners will know, that was like the mindset that I had. And boy, that is not how to do it. That is
And
not how
then
you go into cinema.
you met me, and then I was just like, "Hey, man, want to watch this sick action movie? Yeah, it's from like Indonesia or something."
And that was another thing too, man. Like you opened my perspective on a lot more genres, a lot more film. And yeah, I think you actually got me into anime a little bit as well, if I'm remembering right.
Probably, but probably.
Yeah, well, you
I'm
definitely
sorry.
got me into Korean dramas and like Korean films in general, which has been an amazing ride.
Don't
Um,
sleep on Korean films, man. Don't you
Korean
cannot
films are
to the
amazing.
audience. Do not sleep on Korean films. There are so many bangers.
Well,
They're
just
so good.
remember, you introduced me to Old Boy.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
told you. I
I
know
never
that.
seen Old Boy until you introduced that to me. But I mean, granted, at the time, Old Boy was 12 years old. Whenever you introduced that to me, so like, I was
Yeah,
not into
and
foreign films until I met you.
that was before they did the American remake, right?
We're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, I know, but it
Um,
was way before that. Before like that happened. Yeah.
and yeah, you were right. You were correct.
Yeah. I'll never
Yeah.
forget showing you the raid for the first time.
Oh my God, that was such an amazing experience. I felt like I was first person in a video game. I felt like I was sitting the way they shot it. I felt like I was sitting on the camera operator's shoulders the entire time. Like I just felt like I was about to get
You're a
blood in my
backpack.
eyes, like every scene. I was literally, actually, he was holding me, and then I was like acting as the steady cam. Like that's what it felt like.
What? Little did you know, he was actually just using you as a shield from everything.
From all the blood spray that was coming from the hammers. Yeah, that makes sense actually.
But yeah, so yeah, me and Steven, we go back. We have a long history. Film school was a great time. Um, but yeah, so getting more into this whole project and how this project came to be. Um, so first off, Steven, give a little bit of history about you. You've actually been working on sets and stuff for a minute. You've been grinding as a friend. He has been absolutely grinding. I've been following him, and I've been, but yeah, I know how hard this guy's been working as extras, being a PA, working on actual sets and stuff. So like, go into a little bit of your history and what you've been doing.
Man, I appreciate the intro there. I feel like I'm a lot more special than I need to be at this point. But no, it's actually been close to 8 years of working on film sets every single year. Like I try to get at least a few jobs every year working on a set so I don't lose my skills. I initially started as a background actor on a few films in Pittsburgh. And I highly recommend anybody that wants to know more about film to start out as a background actor. Not only is it very informative, but it's amazing. It's so much fun. You don't have literally any stress on you whatsoever. It's not like being a PA where you're like overworked and stressed. You are just there and you're standing around. You get 3 meals and you're just existing. You get to watch what's going on. You get to hear the dialogue, hear the terminology, and really learn like what it's like to be on a set. And some people do it for a living. Some people just do it in their spare time. One of my first ones that I got to work on, which was Sweet Girl, I'm sorry, not Sweet Girl. I'm Your Woman, which I'm surprised didn't get more attention because that was when Rachel Brosnan was really, really popping off as the marvelous Miss Maisel. But that was such a fun one, and she actually starred alongside of an actor who is currently in The Old Man, and he is actually the younger version of oh my gosh, my mind just went blank. The dude, the guy who plays the dude. Um, in The Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
I know. I'm blanking here.
Oh no! Why am I blanking? Oh, he. Oh no!
I know.
Jeff Bridges.
Yes.
Yeah, Jeff Bridges.
Yes.
Whew, saved it. Okay.
But yeah. Wow, we almost had a crisis right there. That was going to be a crisis moment. Oh my God. I was already starting to write my eulogy. But no, I really got hands on with that one actually, and just listen to what people are telling you because during one of the scenes, I had to run through a doorway because it was a bar fight, and I accidentally kicked the camera lens because they were shooting low to high, and I heard the camera operator call me so many names and so many words, and it was so bad. And I was like, I'm going to have to buy this lens, and I'm going to be in debt for the rest of my life. And then when I die, they're going to sell my body to science just to pay for this lens. Like, I knew it was going to be bad. But I kind of worked my way through a few films as a background actor, and then I got a shot as a PA, which was a lot of fun. And then I would say my biggest learning experience was working on a film called The Trip. And I was able to do multiple jobs because it was an independent film. And so I was able to do practical effects. I was able to do grip and lighting. I was able to AC one day, which was an amazing experience. Got to meet all kinds of amazing, horror movie royalty, really, on that one. And that was so much fun. Nathan, you know this. I got to work with Laurie Cordell from Day of the Dead and John Amplas from Day of the Dead. Also got to work with Doug Bradley, who is Pinhead in Hellraiser. Yep. Got to work with Luke Edwards, who was the older brother in Jeepers Creepers 2. So, and what's really cool about these people is they value relationships. That's one thing that I've learned, probably more than anything in film. the community is they like a lot of people that are in this for the long haul. They value relationships incredibly so.
Mhm.
So don't be a jerk. Don't act pretentious. Be there. Just be kind. Love what you're doing and just go from there, because like when these people see that, they really appreciate it, and they don't want to be like Lori Cardell and John Amplis. They came to me and started talking to me, which I thought was I was so honored. I was so honored. But they just wanted to know about my life, which was incredible. And so then we didn't even really talk about Romero that much. We talked about their personal lives and my personal life, and that real bond connection. Um, like some days I'll still see that she like likes one of my posts, or like Luke Edwards like told me happy birthday, and like little things like that, because they value relationships, and relationships are the core of independent filmmaking.
Well, yeah, I absolutely. I mean, I don't want to stop you, but I absolutely, that's 100% true because like the main reason why is we work as a team. This is you rely on having a team of people, of creative individuals working together to get this product, this story, and then craft this amazing piece of art. It takes a team, like
Yes.
it's and you're working long hours most of the time.
Oh, yes.
It's a job, it's a lot of work.
So to add to what you were saying about community, if you're wanting to start a career in this, make sure that you're being part of a team and you're a reliable part of the team. Because a lot of people in independent filmmaking like to get into it for kind of the thrills, like, oh, who am I going to see or who am I going to meet, blah blah blah, and that's fine, but that's secondary. The main part that um, AD is going to be looking for is, do they know what they're doing, and are they time conscious of the work? Because everything in filmmaking is based off of being very efficient.
No, absolutely agreed. Sorry, I was had to check the timer, make sure I'm not going over on time or anything right now. But no, you're absolutely 1% right. Like even from my experience of like getting into the community of like people who know VFX and stuff, and like VFX artists, like it is a huge community based thing. Like it is you develop these relationships with people, and because they are your peers, you're working with them, you're working long hours, and it's a team effort no matter what you're doing, what have you, filmmaking, video game making, whatever. Um, like it's a team based thing. You cannot get it done without being a team, and
Oh,
it's so
100%. Yeah.
cool being a part of like that community. Um, Filmmakers alike, I feel like, are very much the same way. Um, because like I mean, it takes a team to get a movie made, and like we all work really hard to get it done, and we're all here to
Yes.
really kind of help each other out. Like at least that's the hope. I'm sure there are some people where look, bro, this is just a job. All right, look, I'm just trying to get a paycheck.
Yeah.
But that's just life.
You really get more of that once you start, because I've been on a few Netflix and Paramount sets, and you really get more of that when you start getting into people who are part of unions, where it's just kind of a job. They have to hit their number of hours to keep their benefits. They have to, when you're part of a union, you actually have to apply for each individual project to
Mhm.
get signed on. So for them, it is definitely more work. On the independent sector, however, there's more freedom to move around. There's more, you can have more downtime. The only thing about on the independent sector is that the rules and regulations, as far as like working, can be a little more lenient. So good and bad when it comes to that, because there was days, where we pulled 16, 20-hour days on independent film sets, but also did the same thing on Mayor of Kingstown. You know, we were there. I will never forget. I was there for 22 hours straight as a background actor on Mayor of Kingstown. And what they did was cool because they paid us for the next day and then we didn't have to show up. So the big studios can do that because they have just mega, mega, mega millions to burn through, or at least they used to anyway.
Fair.
That's a whole nother conversation, though. That is a whole nother conversation that I don't know if we have time to get into.
We might have to record a couple podcasts.
Yeah, oh, especially when it comes to that. That is like days worth of conversation.
But getting into the production of your short film. So first off, let's start talking about how actually this came to be. And the reason I mainly want to get into this is because, to be quite frank, the FTA and what me and Chase have been like really working on for the last several months now, would not have been possible, one, without Steven and how much work he's put into the short film. So to kind of backtrack a little bit,
you might be giving me too much credit there.
No, absolutely not. Bro, like, to me, you are one of the most pivotal members of FTA. Like, to me, there are 4 people and that has been absolutely instrumental in getting this started. So me and Chase are the 2 that have, like, Chase alone, I can't believe the amount of work he's put into what we're doing with FTA.
It's really,
it's absolutely astonishing. I can't do it without him, and I'm very, very thankful for him. I get to say this because he's not here. But no, Chase, he is editing this. So for those of you watching this right now, he is actually editing this podcast. So hi to Chase. But no, he's that's why he's on the website that we are going to be releasing in January. He's listed as one of the co-founder of FTA, and it's for good reasons, because I could not do it without him. Like, he has been putting so much work into it. So I'm very thankful for that. But also, our friend Joey, who I hope to have on the podcast soon. We'll see if we can get that to work out, but hopefully he's on the podcast soon. But he too has been helping me and Chase both so much with what we're doing. He is absolutely a member of the FTA. And then you, my guy, you are absolutely pivotal. Your short film, like, the best way I can put it is, so like, let me back up a little bit. So earlier this year, it was earlier this year. Me and Steven were talking on the phone, and you were just kind of like going through a thing where you really, like, you needed something to work on. Like, creatively, you needed something to work on, and I could tell you.
Now, let's like put it into context, because that was when like all the strike stuff was kind of what we thought was coming to an end, and the job market was absolutely horrible. It was atrocious. Like, you could not get a job on a film set for anything. So, like, setting up the conversation, that's kind of where we were.
I actually totally forgot about that. I forgot about the whole context of it. So we were having a conversation, and you were just like creatively at a place where you're like, dude, I just gotta, like, I really want to make something. Like, that's just like what I was getting from you when we were having that conversation. And
definitely,
I just was like, you know what, Steven, make a short film. I was just like, I challenged him. I was like, do a short film. And given I fully anticipated him to just take his phone, film something in his apartment, some little skit, some 4 or 5 minutes long. And I told him, like, hey, film a little thing. I challenge you to do it. Just a little something. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care if you film it on your phone, whatever. Just make a little short film, and I'll edit it for you, because I know Steven, he doesn't know how to edit. I'll throw it together for you.
Terrible at editing.
He's awful. He's so bad at editing. I've known this since college. I knew that, so I was like, yeah, I'll edit it for you.
It's like trying to watch an elephant play soccer. Like it's atrocious.
No,
It's just like
you
I put cuts in places where there shouldn't be cuts. And don't even get me started on I couldn't even dream of doing sound design. Like that is just not my thing.
look, even sound design, so that's a whole nother skill. But I so in school and everything, I've been editing for so long, using so many different like applications, Premiere, Avid. Yeah, we did Avid back in college. And that's what Steven
No,
was like trying to learn editing on, and it was a nightmare. But
horrible.
Steven, you're not an editor. I love you to death. You are not an editor. So I was like,
No.
okay, I'm gonna help my boy out. I'll edit a little thing for him. And you went absolutely above and beyond the Call of Duty. You straight up went out and like damn near made a full feature film. This man put in so much work. It turned it. Well, I thought was just gonna be like, oh yeah, he's gonna take his phone and film a little thing. He full on went into production mode. Got a whole team together, DP, yes, extras. He was scouting locations. He got locations. Like he went above and beyond and ended up putting on a whole production and making this really awesome film. And yeah, I that's what I really want to get into, because without you doing this, like I learned so much going into the editing process of this, and even going through the production of the short film with you. Like it's been such a learning experience for me, but also really was the foundation for FTA, because it's like, I don't want to say it's like a proof of concept, but helping you with the post-production side of things on this short film is just like, it gave me feel of like, oh, I want to keep doing this. This is a skill set I have, and a thing
Right,
that me
right.
and Chase both know how to do. We want to keep bringing that up to people who don't know how to edit, or that's not their forte, or you know, we want to be able to do that. And I think the case of your short film is such a beautiful example of that. So yeah, I know it's been a while, or we've already been talking for a minute now, but let's start kind of getting into the actual production of the short film. So I gave you this challenge for a short film, right?
Right, right.
What the crap went through your head? I walk me through the process, explain it to me. What's going on? Okay, because I wasn't planning on this. And then
No, me neither.
you wrote a full script, and it ended up being a really beautiful script, and we'll get more into it. But yes, starting with the production stuff, and so you wrote a script. How'd you get a team together? What's tell me, what's your
So
secrets?
usually, like going back to what you were saying about like people's forte, like like editing is not my forte. Post just in general is not my forte. And really pre-production, I had to teach myself a lot about pre-production as well. Not really when it came to finances, because that's just budgeting. It's very simple. You can find an outline online and just go off of that. Um, Storyboarding, I had to have some training on there for sure. Storyboarding was my bread and butter once we started shooting. Like that was my big thing because I really stuck
That
to the storyboards.
okay, I do have to intervene there. That okay, so I've been personally, as a friend, I've been trying to help Steven as much as I can with the like skill set that I have to help you with pre-production stuff, especially when it comes to things like storyboarding and doing like
Yeah.
that. I'm a VFX nerd, so in my head I'm thinking full like previs and stuff. Which to our audience, if you don't know what previs is, it's the whole like pre-animated stuff you got to do for like action scenes or things that are going to be heavily CGI or VFX heavy and things like that. But like so that's like where my brain works, and then knowing Steven, it's that's your brain's not going to go into previs mode.
No,
No,
absolutely not.
that's I just know that for a fact.
No.
So
My forte is production.
yes.
Like that is my forte. Previs and post, not my forte at all. And I had to learn that and find people and lean on people that had that forte. Like for example, one thing that's not my strong suit is lighting. I know my color palettes. I know what I'm looking for, but as far as the technical aspect of things, we had an amazing guy named Sean who was on this, and he did. I mean, he's had tons of experience as a lighting grip, so he really knows his lighting stuff. So I had to lean on him for that. I had to lean on Riles, who wanted to be credited as AC. He did an immaculate job when it came to helping me frame shots. I would tell him what I'm looking for, tell him what I was kind of going for, show him the storyboard, and then he was like, that's great, but we can make it more dynamic with this lens, or this lens. And then we would kind of, go back and forth and talk about that. But that's where my bread and butter is. That's where I get excited. And I know that's so technical to some people, but for me, that's where the excitement, that's the magic right there. That's where the magic happens, is in that production mindset. But going back to your original question, starting out, the hardest part for me wasn't writing. I love to write. So for me, the idea of the script came from Write What You Know, which is a brilliant, brilliant first step in any writing process. Write what you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I did. And the formatting is something that I'm a little weak on, and thank God for my wife, who was amazing in English. And she minored in English, I believe. So like she really helped me format this. Once I got that done, scouting the locations was probably harder than actually shooting this thing.
Yep.
Like getting the rights to, because we shot in a cemetery at one point. So getting the rights and then actually sitting down and talking with these people and trying to get them to understand what we were shooting. Because their very first thing was, are you going to go like full zombie? Is there going to be blood all over our graves? And I'm like, no. We are not doing that. Like, we're going to try to have some level of respect and professionalism. Yeah. And that's fine, like for bigger films to do that. But you have to be open. You have to be honest with these people that you're talking to, especially it's not your property. You have to respect their rules and their, because they will give you caveats immediately. And you have to respect that. Like the day that we were shooting, there was 2 funerals going on that same day. So we had to be extremely respectful, and we had to really work around 2 actual funerals going on. So there was, logistics that had to be taken into account. But for me, finding team members that had those strengths where I knew I had my weaknesses was really, really beneficial part. And it's important. It's very important. You are not, I don't care what anyone says. No one is a one-man show. No one. Like they can try to be, and good luck. Like, good luck. If that's what you want to do, by all means, please wear yourself out and quite literally and be a one-man show. Shoot the thing, act in the thing, edit the thing, and then at the end of it, scream your face off and say, I never want to see this again. Because you're going to be so frustrated with having to put that much time and energy into it. Yeah. And it's important. And like I said earlier, reliability is massive. Do not ever take someone saying, yeah, I'll be there as a promise. No. Don't do it. It's not going to happen. We had, for one of our scenes, we needed like 30 background. And on the day, I had 2 show up. Yeah. Out of 30 that had promised me that they were going to show up. And thank God for one of my grips. That was a fill-in grip, actually, from another one of the grips that said he could make it. He brought 8 of his friends, and we were able to fill out this space. And that's another reason why it's important to have community in filmmaking, because you're going to have to make a lot of last minute decisions. And if you're a type A personality, it's going to bother you a lot. Like, thank God I'm not. Like, I'm pretty good with the flow.
Mhm.
But if you're a type A where everything has to be planned out and everything has to work out, you're going to really need to come to grips with that's not going to happen. Let's it's never going to work out the way that you planned it to.
Yeah.
um
I mean,
and that's just the way that
that
filmmaking is.
yeah, that's just production. Like, it's never gonna go like, man, if a day went exactly how you thought it was gonna go, honestly, lucky. That is
If that
rare.
happens, you need to see if something went wrong.
Yeah, no,
Like,
you
somebody
almost have to second guess yourself of like,
in the camera.
something definitely went wrong. Check the memory cards. Like, guy, what happened? What's something definitely we missed something. But yeah,
It's 100%.
but
100%.
bringing it back to your point though, it is like, that's why relationships and working with your peers is so important, and that sense of community is so big within the filmmaking community, and why it's so important.
Yeah.
Finding those individuals who, you know, strengthen you and know are masters at what they do to help bring your vision come to life. That
Exactly.
is so, it's a beautiful thing, really. It's like one of my, like, not to get like like sentimental, but like, that is one of my favorite things about filmmaking, is like the community of people coming together, working their hardest to deliver something that they are passionate about. That's cool.
Absolutely.
That's really cool. And I think that shines so much within the art that it's being created, when you have that team of individuals that are just, look, we want to do the best thing we freaking can right now. Like, that is
exactly.
it's great. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It's important. And like, having not only having a team, but having just good friends that are willing to jump in and learn and get the job done. Because really, there was a lot of days where, because we shot 4 days on this, and that's not including the day that we shot for just B-roll. So we were on the 4 days that we actually shot. There was a lot of things that I was like, you know what, this isn't going to work today. Like, it's too bright. The guy outside's cutting his grass. We're not going to be able to get good sound. You know, like, there's some random truck like booming his music in the middle of this scene, and he decided to park at the end of the road. Like, and he's just there for the next hour. Like, what are we doing here? And then having people step in and say, you know what, this is how we fix this sound issue. Like, this is how we fix the stuff that we didn't plan for.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what filmmaking is about, is showing up with a plan and being versatile enough to fix the problems you did not plan for. Yeah. That's what independent filmmaking is to its core.
It's the same thing with VFX, to relate the two. It's just creative problem solving.
Exactly.
That's all it is. If that is the skill at the core, at the heart of it, yes, being a storyteller and telling a good story, that's part of filmmaking as well. But it is, at the end of the day, the job, the skill set, for sure, just creative problem solving. It's the exact same thing with being in VFX and things like that. It is creative problem solving. That is, at its core, what it is.
Exactly. And I feel like if you're not willing to be that creative problem solver, if you are just kind of walking into this thinking that, hey, I own a camera, so now I'm a filmmaker, and I've never been on a set, and I've never done this, and everybody's just going to show up, and everybody's going to do their perfect thing, and everything's just going to work out all right, you are going to have such a harsh learning curve, and I pray for you. Like, it is going to be a really tough learning curve. So if you go into it with the mindset of, I don't know everything. I don't know everything. And I always pull a quote from Quentin Tarantino, where he talks about, like, I have a vision, And it's my job to portray my vision to the people who are the experts in those areas.
Mhm.
And then they help present my vision the way that I have it in my head.
Mhm.
That is filmmaking to its core. That is independent filmmaking right there.
Yeah.
It's always learning. It's always being open to, no, I don't know. Teach me.
Yeah, I love it. So you going into the production, you got this team of individuals who were all just like connections that you had, like friends and people that you've worked with on other sets before, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah, I've met some on like big production sets. Like Riles works. He's an incredible guy. He has worked on every major film in Pittsburgh for years now. Like he knows his stuff. Ethan Brown was another guy that was a part of it for a little bit. He has worked on Hallmark films, Lifetime films, Netflix productions. So he has like a vast array. Ben was also a really, really good resource as well. He's a very, very learned grip. And the biggest, I would say, I'm not going to say the most important person, but one of the biggest assets that was a part of this production was Riles. Just because not only did he bring his insight, he had, I mean, a truckload of equipment that he was just like, do you guys need to use this? And I'm like, yes, I do believe. Like,
actually,
he
yeah.
had C-stands, he had lighting, he had sandbags, he had all the gaff tape and all the C-47s and like all the everything. You know what I mean? Like, so he was a huge asset as far as, you know, creating this. And he was also a huge asset on keeping us on time. That's another thing that is extremely important, because you will get so tripped up by a problem that you will try to fix that problem. Some problems don't need to be fixed. Some problems need to be overlooked so that you can continue going on with the production.
Yeah, because you still gotta move on. You still gotta do your day and still gotta film other things. So yeah.
You have to hit your scenes. You got to hit your scenes. And especially when you're on a such limited budget like we were. Like we shot this 40-minute short film with $1,500. And that was literally me being able to pay everybody to be there, at least gas money, and to cater, which I literally made all the food because I was trying to save as much money as possible. So I would make 3-course meals, get there an hour early, set it up. When I would call for lunch, when we would, break for lunch, then I would go in the kitchen and start heating everything up. Like, these are aspects of production you got to think about as well.
Yeah.
So not only just the story, but the well-being of everybody that's on set. That's production.
Yeah. And I really got to say, and like hand it to you, you guys really did an amazing job with production, and like,
thank you
for how, like, this is a short film and you guys filmed so much. Well, you're gonna get more into it, but like the first rough cut of this was like what, 52 minutes or something like that.
Yeah,
like
off of a 16-page script.
I don't know how you did that, by the way. That is
don't-
shocking to me. That like the script alone was 16 pages. And yes, there are some scenes where it is quite monologue intense. But it was just really astonishing how much you guys got. Because when I actually finally started piecing it all together, it was just wild, really, to see like, oh, all this together is now like 50 minutes. Holy crap. And then the challenge became of actually getting it cut down and everything. So actually, speaking on that, like, so you filmed this entire thing, and then once you got done filming, we had to start going into post-production and editing.
Oh, yes.
Which was very, very fun. And this is where I stepped in.
Was it?
It was fun. It was fun. We'll get into the one part that I absolutely hated. I said the post-production part was fun. The whole beginning part was very aggravating. So we're gonna get into it. But So heading into the post-production part, were you nervous about anything? I'm actually quite curious about this. Because you obviously already put so much work into it, and then I like one which I was already shocked on, like how much like love and actual like money and like this is a production and like you like I
It's
challenged you
fun.
to make a skit short film on your phone and you put on this full on production, which was just crazy. I'm so proud of you. Like I couldn't believe it. Like it was really when I started seeing the shots come in, I was like, whoa, dang, all right, my boy stepped up. Which like you
Yeah,
stepped
better than
up.
I thought it was going to for sure.
It turned out amazing. And there's so much more we can go into with the actual production of it. Honestly, we'll probably have to film a whole nother podcast. Maybe we will.
Maybe we will. I'm down.
Maybe we
I'm
will.
100% down.
No, you're gonna be on the podcast again for sure. But going into the post production side of things, before we even started like saying anything, what was going through your mind, or what going into the post production part of the process of the short film, what were your thoughts? What was kind of going through your head?
So, my biggest reservations and anxieties about that was, first of all, I didn't know how we were gonna, you being way out where you are, and me being on literally the other coast, trying to get this footage out to you.
Mm-hmm.
Had no idea, and that whole process was a learning curve, for sure. But I've worked on a lot of independent sets where at the end of the day, you're trying to transfer files and they get corrupted and you lose scenes.
Mm.
And I think for me, the post production part of it was I was terrified that we were going to have like a mass corruption and lose tons and tons and tons of footage that we had shot. Thank God that never happened. We did have it with a few scenes, but we were able to recover those. So, not a big deal. The other aspect of production that I was super nervous about was the music. Because, as we all know, film, even though it is a visual medium, is also a heavily auditory medium as well. And so I was super blessed and super lucky to have John in my life. And the fact that he writes music is amazing. And I love his stuff. And that's why we haven't released it yet, because I'm waiting on John to finish up the music aspect of things.
Yeah,
and the reason I'm waiting is because he is phenomenal at what he does, and I want his music.
Yeah. So as of right now, of the recording of this podcast right now, we are still in the post-production process of your short film right now. We are waiting for the music to get back. I'm very excited to hear what he makes for this. I know I've heard several of his like songs before. I've heard his music. So I am really excited to hear what he brings. I'm really excited for that. But
he has such a cool sound too, man. Like just peaceful and everything.
It's gonna be really cool. But as of right now, we do have a locked edit for the most part on an actual like the scenes were there, the clip, the shots are there, so we have a locked edit. Just waiting for the music, and then I will do the last bit of stuff that I got to do, which is a lot, but yeah, we won't talk about that.
Yeah, we put a lot of work into the post. I mean, honestly, you've probably put more work into the post than we did during the production. To be quite honest.
I think it's pretty equal. I don't think it's more, to be honest with you. I generally don't think it's more. You guys put so much work into the production side of things for this short that I felt like I really had to step up my game. You stepped up your game so much. I felt like I had to match you or beat you at it. Like that. I like, oh, okay. I got to do this now. And it was such a learning, like not even a learning curve, but it was I learned so much in getting this edit done and trying to bring your vision to life. And there's so many things I really want to go into. I am we're me and Steven both are going to be making some more videos going more in depth on his short film, particularly into like some of the editing choices we have. You know, it's most of the short film is in black and white. It's in a 4:3 ratio. Like it's like there's a lot of very strong choices and stuff. So we're going to make some videos going more into that. But it was so cool getting to see your vision from script going into production and then having the footage in my hand. I had to deliver your vision and seeing that come to life and bringing what you had and being able to do what like I know editing really well. I've been editing for a long time, but being able to bring my skills to the table of like, okay, I know what what you're going for. I see your vision. Let me get it done on the edit. And it's been
and not only that, but I wanted to see you. Like I wanted to see your artistic ability as well. Like I wanted to see what you thought, because I told you my vision, and then because we're so close and we know each other so well, going back to the whole having a reliable team thing, I wanted to see what your twist and artistic take was on certain issue or certain perspectives of the short film was. And I really feel like you handled that very well. You know, a lot of the shots and a lot of the edits that you put in there, I hadn't thought of before. And then when I saw what you did, like what you practiced with, I was like, man, this, like, he gets it. Like, he gets the style, he gets the vision we're going for. And you really, you really complimented the vision with your artistic choices. And that's one thing that I felt a lot more at peace with the post-production once I saw you starting to get more comfortable and start adding your artistic choices to it. And that's when I kind of hands off and was like, you know what? I'm going to step back and let you do you, because you get it.
I really appreciate that actually. I wanted to capture what you had in your head. So like because that's the thing when someone reads something on paper, right? I'm trying to get your vision, but obviously I'm going to be seeing something else in my head of when I read that script page. And after going over the script with it and all of that, and you know, getting the scenes out, and I started condensing everything down, like there were like several choices I made in the edit that like I got nervous about. Like I generally got nervous being like, I will never forget the phone call. I had to make a phone call to him because we needed to get the short film down more because it was over 40 minutes. And the reason why we cut it down to 40 minutes is because, or below 40 minutes, is because that is generally the cutoff for short films, especially if you are submitting to like a film festival or anything like that.
Right. Definitely.
That is a general guideline. And I don't know, this doesn't have to be on the podcast or anything. I'm not saying we're filming this or we're doing this edit for a short film, but that is a good guide. Or wow, I'm really messing up my words right now. We are not doing this edit for a film festival or anything like that, but to have the guideline of like, okay, a short film is 40 minutes max. Generally, that is a good rule. So
yes, and you always have to check which festival you're going into, because some of them that cutoff's 20 minutes, some of them is 30 minutes.
Yes, it is not
40 minutes is a great starting spot for sure.
That is a very good starting point, because honestly, once you start going over that, you're getting closer to like feature length film.
Right.
So yeah, but yeah, I just wanted to bring your vision to life, and then like there were a actual day I made a choice. I cut an entire scene out of the film, an entire scene, not just like, oh, I'll cut it. I cut the entire thing out, and it, like, oddly enough, worked better flow wise. And I literally had to make a call to Steven. I was like, Steven, I cut an entire scene. Like I cut it out, but here's my reasoning why. It flows better. It does this, that. And I was actually nervous. I thought you'd be like, no, I need that scene in there. And which was fine. but it would have definitely made my job a lot harder getting it below 40 minutes. Not gonna lie.
What do you mean you just cut an entire scene? Like, what is going on? And then once I watched it without the scene, I was like, man, that was fluff. Like, I'm glad you got rid of that, because that scene was just fluff. It really didn't take away or add anything to the character. So
Yeah,
it was,
and like
that was,
it wasn't like a bad scene or anything. Like the scene itself was fine. It was one of those things of like when I took it out, it did better service the story.
it did, yeah.
It
And it made it flow better, and it was shorter. And that's really, like, going back to that, when you're making a short film, it's not about telling a story and giving the audience every teeny tiny little bit of information that you possibly can. A short film is specifically telling the story with just the meat and the bones. Like, you don't need anything else. Like, cut the fat. You need the meat and the bones, and that's it. And I think you did a really good job cutting off as much fat as we could, especially with that scene.
Yeah, yeah. It was oddly, it was like one of those things that was just needed. And like once I did it, I was like, oh yeah, this works. This really does work. So I'm glad it ended up working that way. It does suck, having to cut a scene, because that is work that you guys put into doing a thing. But yeah, I'm really happy and really satisfied with so far how the edit's been. The locked edit we have right now, I honestly really am really happy with it. It took a long time to get this done. And the main reason for that is because in the beginning process of us heading down the road of doing this edit, getting the footage over to me. Now, we should also preface this. Steven is out on the on the other side of the United States. He's out towards Pittsburgh. I'm in Southern California. Yes, I do need to preface this. There are better ways of going about doing this.
Oh my God, yes.
But I do have to state there is a limitation preference that not a limited preference. We had a limitation on what we could do. One of those being Steven does not have a very good laptop.
No, not at all.
I need to preface that first.
No.
So having him be able to do things like compress a raw file, not gonna happen. So I duly need. I know people are probably gonna hear, but like, well, why didn't you do this? Why you didn't do that? We were really, really limited on what we could do. But
time, resources, and money is really what it came down to. Those were our three limitations. And even big box office films, those are the three limitations that they're always going to have. So like whenever you watch a movie and you're like, man, those special effects sucked, and blah, 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 blah. It's not the fact that they didn't have the money for it. More than likely it was probably time or resources, but that's a whole nother conversation. Yeah. But what I'm getting at is there's always going to be some form of limitation, no matter if you're on a feature or a short. And we had all three.
Yes.
And that's why it was a little more difficult for us, because we had all three.
And it was quite a process. So we basically, what Steven ended up doing is he literally uploaded all the footage that they recorded, which was full raw, like 4K raw ProRes 422 files. They're massive. And for anyone who doesn't understand that lingo, basically what I said, they're just massive files that are huge. Like we're talking anywhere. I think the smallest file size was 12 gigs.
Yeah.
I think that was the smallest.
I think some of the B-roll might have been shorter just because it was like 10-second shots. Some of the B-roll.
No, actually, fun fact, the reason for that, me and Chase have talked about this in a previous podcast, but the reason why is because you somehow, when you did the pickup shots, you filmed in a different codec, so it actually made the file size smaller, and I, personally, as an editor, prefer that codec than what you actually filmed the entire short film with. Just a little side.
Well, I'm glad that my accident was good.
Yeah, it was the first time I ever worked with B-raw files, and I love B-raw now. I quite frankly, I want everyone to shoot B-roll because they're freaking amazing. I really love it.
And you
But
don't really lose any data like whenever you do that either. I feel like you're getting about the same. Like now you can speak more toward that when it comes to like visual effects. You probably need more data, so you use the larger files. But we weren't using.
it has nothing really to do with that. It's more about compression.
Okay,
That's
there you go.
really it. It's just codecs. It's yeah, it's more so a preference thing, if anything. Like
This is why you need someone who knows about post. I am production guy. Okay, you are a post guy. You are editor.
you
You
are
know
this guy.
more than I do when it comes to this.
I just I'm a nerd.
We
That's all.
compliment each other. You need
Yes.
people that compliment you in this industry, 100%.
But yeah, so what Steven did, he uploaded all the footage to a Dropbox. And then I went through and downloaded every single clip off Dropbox, which was a whole process that, shockingly enough, took over a month to get done.
Yes, don't recommend. Don't
No,
do it.
no.
Please.
And for the people who are saying, why didn't you just upload it to the hard drive and mail it out? That was our last case scenario that we generally were going to do, but we were trying to do it as cheap as possible and with zero money. So doing it this method was sadly the least expensive way of us to go about doing it. Give or take, like, I don't know if you count the actual like downloading and like that. I don't know if you it may cost more. I don't freaking know, but
So, with that being said, though, just to throw this in there, when you're making a project like this, if you don't have the money, you're going to pay for it in time. And if you don't have the time, you better darn well make sure that you got the money to pay people to get it done in a more timely manner. Because those two things, that's why film is so like, I know we don't shoot on actual film anymore, but that's why movies nowadays still cost. Like every teeny tiny little thing costs so much because if you are waiting around and you're waiting for a cheaper, more cost efficient way of doing something, you're paying for it with your time.
Yeah.
It might be cheaper, but you're paying for it with time. So if you get it done quicker, break out the Benjamins because it's gonna be expensive.
Absolutely. I know we need to start kind of wrapping this up soon. Honestly, we could keep talking about this all day. I know it really sucks. We're definitely gonna have Steven back on the podcast. So don't even worry about that. But to kind of wrap things up here, the post-production process has been such a learning experience for me. I learned so much. It really was the start of FTA in my mind, and I am so thankful for the experience to be able to do this. I'm excited for what we are making together with this short film. I mean, you've seen the locked edit. I'm really excited about it. I still got to put my finishing touches on it and do.
It's really, really good.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it. We will release more details on when that is going to be released and such at later dates when we get those confirmed. But yeah, it's really was an amazing experience.
You did such a good job, and it's a good bonding experience, man. Like, because one thing we didn't talk about was, let's be honest, during this experience, we both got on each other's nerves.
Oh yeah, no,
So
for sure.
Like 100%. So like I said, we've known each other for years and years and years. And like we were having to ask questions we've never had to ask each other before. Ask each other for sacrifices of time and money and all this other type of stuff. And even if you love the person to death, at some point you're going to be like, why the hell did they do that? Like what is going on in their mind? You don't understand their thought process. And I know, Nathan, I had to do that to you immensely, especially post me not knowing barely anything, and then me not knowing anything, I'm getting frustrated with Nathan because I'm like, well, why would you do that? And long story short, you will bond. You will find it will either make or break your friendship. And for us, I feel like it really strengthened that bond very strongly. And now I know no matter what project we do, we're going to get through it, and we're going to get through it well.
Oh yeah, you know, we got this, bro. And you know, I'm always here to explain anything in the post production process that you don't know anything about. I can. The hardest part is getting a full explanation to you to where like to a point where you understand. Like, does that make sense? Like, because
I know it's going to be an explanation when you start out with, "Oh my God, okay."
Yeah, because here's the thing. I like that's why me and Chase work really well together is because we almost speak the same language, especially when it comes to things like VFX or something like that. I don't want to tease like future productions really too much because but like explaining VFX to Steven sometimes, I know he might be working on something maybe in the future, might be possibly needing VFX for it. So I've been helping him with like understanding more about like VFX, what's needed to actually film it, things like that, what's gonna happen, and explaining something to someone who literally has no idea of like anything about that world can be really difficult. Why me and Chase work really well together is because we kind of speak the same language. I can start like throwing an idea at him VFX wise, and he can like add to it, boom, 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 and like okay, then we're just like playing off each other at that point. Steven will come to me and be like, okay, so I have this idea for a scene, right? And boom, boom, boom. Can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? And my first thought has to be, okay, we can do that, but here's our limitations. Here's what the process of that is looking like, which means we're gonna need this. Oh, and this too. Oh, you want it? Oh, okay. Well, we're gonna have to add that and this too and that. So like, it's a whole breaking it down and trying to get you to explain. Okay, you want this? We gotta do X, 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 X. Exactly. And literally breaking it down of like, okay, here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3. This is my process. This is what we're gonna do. And it's really doing that though is a very educational experience for me because I love breaking it down, but it also like reinstates the knowledge I already have, if that makes sense. Like I'm learning more. It's like you know it more, having to explain it to someone and teach them. Okay, here's our process. Here's how we do that. Or he'll hit me with something, and I'm like, let me get back to you on that one because I'm gonna have to figure out how we got to do that. I know the general process, but
like really practical heavy. Whenever you look at like a lot of independent films that come out, a lot of the times, especially if they're lower budget, they're going to be very practical heavy, or the special effects that they're using, the VFX that they're using, are so outdated, it's almost laughable. So like coming from that type of a background, like this has been a huge learning experience for me when it comes to, what you actually need to do to have visual effects that adequately tell the story, but are also believable. And I feel like you've done a really good job explaining that to me, and using the knowledge of my practical with your VFX and trying to marry those two together, I feel like is going to come out amazingly in future projects for sure.
I'm really excited for the things that again, don't want to tease too much. Don't want to say anything, but we are. There's some stuff potentially brewing that I would love to work on. Even Chase, I know, is really excited to be working on it too. He wants to get his hands dirty on that. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap up the podcast now. It's been an absolutely amazing time doing this, David. Seriously, this was so much fun.
Pleasure, man.
Like generally, this was so much fun.
Awesome.
Next time, I really want you to get on here with Chase. We'll try to make that happen.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, no, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the podcast now. This might be a really long podcast, so I apologize if you guys stuck around to the end. You're amazing. You're kind of insane, and you're my kind of people.
Same here. My kind of people.
But before we leave, Steven, I kind of want to start doing this. I actually haven't thought up of anything, but do you have a recommendation for anyone? Like, do you have a recommendation for a movie or music or I don't know, whatever? Do you have a recommendation for the people listening?
So this show isn't brand new, but really, really good. Actually, there are two shows. Gangs of London, I would recommend. Very shocking and very, very good. Great storyline. And they take artistic license with some of the shots. Some of them come off cheesy. Some of them are just straight up badass. And I mean, it's beautiful. The other one, if you're a fan of American Horror Story, I would recommend Grotesquerie.
Really?
Grotesquerie. Yeah. Now, the reason I'm recommending that is because it's very mind bending. It's more about the story, I would say, because at the end of it, you're sitting there going, I genuinely have no idea what just happened. Like, I have no idea. And then you watch the next episode and you're like, okay, I get it. Until the end, and you're like, I'm lost again. Like, I got nothing. I absolutely have nothing. But I will make a recommendation on what not to watch. And that was a movie that came out called Daddy's Head.
Oh,
and unfortunately, it was not. I'm going to give you two to watch and one to not watch. Daddy's Head was a lot of. It was a very slow burn, and it was such a slow burn that the spark went out and just began to smolder with smoke. In my opinion, that's what it felt like. But Gangs of London, Grotesquerie, for something that's different and something that is kind of like Peaky Blinders, but modern and very, very gritty. So that's your trigger warning right there. Very gritty.
Okay.
But other than that, it's been a pleasure. Had a lot of fun. Hopefully more podcasts to come. Hopefully more projects to come.
Oh, yeah.
This has just been an absolute blast, man.
Nah, it's been a pleasure, my man. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. Steven, where can the people find you?
So right now, TikTok's popping off. So I have an account at Check the Gate. Do a lot of movie reviews and movie current events. Right there, the last thing was the crazy fight on Netflix that shall not be talked about. But that's really where I'm most active at. We are starting a YouTube with the same name. There's nothing there, so don't even try. But we are beginning to start that, and we will be trying to launch a podcast as well with the same name. And yours truly will probably be a guest because he is my best friend. But yes, check me out at Check the Gate on TikTok, and hopefully you'll like some of the stuff that we have to say there.
Thank you. Steven, thank you so much for doing this again. To all the listeners, thank you for listening to this all the way to the end. If you've watched this video all the way to the end, thank you so much. Appreciate it so much. Say thank you to Chase for the one editing this video right now. Thank you, Chase. And even though he's not here, he's still here. He's here in spirit. Thank you guys so much for listening, and see you guys next time. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.